I mean, Wyndham was just such a close friend over the years. His dad, Mike Rotunda, actually got me my job with WWE.
Oh, get out of here! Really?
That's right. That's right.
That's how I got in. I was playing football with the Gronkowski brothers. Well, Mr. Gronkowski was college roommates with Mike Rotunda at Syracuse. So
holy shit,
he made that introduction, and got signed thanks to him, and was able to come in. And Wyndham was one of my close friends. I mean, we just kind of spoke the same language, and just talk about one of the most selfless people in a locker room that really cared about people. I mean, you see it in wrestling, if it's something that you're supposed to shake everybody's hand when you walk into a room. Well, people that have come from wrestling, they don't know that. They have no idea. Matter of fact, it's probably the opposite, because you're told not to bother the veteran. You don't go walk up to John Cena and shake his hand in football. You got to earn that respect to go approach him and talk to him like that. So we didn't know any better. So it's easy for everybody else to be like, look at this piece of shit from the NFL coming in and big leaguing us. He didn't shake my hand today. He thinks he's so sweet and he got an easier path than the rest of us. That wasn't the case at all. But nobody really stopped to understand why this was happening. But Wyndham was that guy, and that's just one example. I could think of probably 3 dozen off the top of my head, but Wyndham was always the dude that smartened up the young guys, gave people real advice, positive and constructive criticism, I'll even say. But he was just like I always thought he was, if not the most influential person in the locker room, one of them, because of his ability to bring everybody together and keep it up. Things would get so negative, man. It was, how nasty it gets in there. But when Wyndham dude, he never bought into that crap. He always stayed positive and having fun and laughing about the hard times, and just, was such a good brother to have around. And his service, man, was just, it was unbelievable. Actually, Bo Dallas Taylor and I, we were roommates for a year at actually when we first moved to Orlando for the PC. But I mean, the words that were said about him and just the turnout, dude. People were there that knew him for a week, that had known him his whole life. You see the biggest names in wrestling that all came early and stayed through the end. I believe the AEW folks, from what I understand, they booked a private jet to fly in and fly out because it was on the day of a show. And
heard that too. Which, I mean, all credit to Tony Khan, AEW, to do something like that for it's the industry, and that's loving the industry, loving wrestling, and being able to look beyond any borders or lines or anything, and just loving the memory and honoring your potential employees and whatnot that had a connection to the man. To hear everybody's sentiments be this very similar to what you expressed, and I mean, I'd say it's universal from everything I've heard. And I only had a few encounters with Wyndham, but he was always, very gregarious, like you were saying, he added energy to the room. He was one of those, you talk about vibration and stuff, not to get too woo-woo, but some people suck the energy out of a room, and pro wrestling's got them for sure. And then you have a guy like him who is the opposite, and it bonds people, it brings people together. It's unfortunate, obviously, the tragedy of him passing away and everything, but think about how many people in our industry had bonding moments, one-on-one, because of their mutual admiration and love of the man himself. Not Bray Wyatt, but Wyndham, and that's pretty fucking cool, and it's pretty powerful to think that's your death brought that to the industry and to the people that were I mean, talk about importance, right? Like an important figure, and just
And I think that's of note too, because when you ask somebody, it always goes to personal things. With how incredible of a performer Bray Wyatt was, that
right.
is never mentioned until the very end. And I think,
Right.
for my money, he's probably the most creative guy I've seen in a ring, and as long as I can remember. I mean, I always
Maybe
think,
ever.
put anyone else and tell them to go do the Bray Wyatt character. I don't see anybody being able to pull it off.
I remember when that was like being rumored of coming about, and like I did a tryout in Tampa when it was still FCW. Wyndham, I think, was there. And I definitely met him when the Husky Harris thing was what was, but you could, you saw that there was something, but he just hadn't figured it out yet. And hell, at that point, I hadn't figured it out either. I'm not sure I ever did. But I remember seeing the Bray thing in the beginning with like the Hawaiian shirt and the hat, and then Brody was being with him and Rowan, and I was mesmerized, man. I couldn't take my eyes off of it, and it was like to see Brody, who was a guy that I grew up with in pro wrestling. Like, he was a Rochester guy, I was upstate New York, so I had known him since I had gotten into wrestling, and Brody was a special sort of talent too, very, very unique. But I remember the right stuff, Brody Lee, and he would like dance, and it was not the Brody Lee that we came to know. But I saw seeing Bray, seeing Wyndham and Brody and Eric Rowan and Braun together the first time was like, oh shit, like that. Just, I don't know. Nothing more needs to be said. Like, I'm invested. I want to see what these guys are going to do.
Yeah, dude. And then looking at just the size of them all, it's like, man, who's gonna beat these guys? Like, good luck.
Right. Yeah. And he had it was almost like he had, from a gimmick standpoint, like there was a spell that he had on the people, but there was a spell that he had on his boys too, in some sort of way, not like a mystical way, but you could tell, like there was he was the leader. These guys are following him to hell and back. So cool. Yeah. Well, I apologize for taking us down that road, but I know that I didn't want to leave the elephant in the room, because I know how tight you guys were, Mojo, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to just speak your piece about the man a little bit, honor him. I mean, even more than what everybody's already done. I mean, seeing some of the stuff, there was some stuff I caught from a house show that Seth Rollins did that was just so touching, and
it was cool. I felt like, I don't know if it was most, but there was a significant number of talent that worked in some sort of Wyndham tribute into their matches or segments or something, and that's always cool to see, man, because not to compare, because I think that's totally wrong, but you lose people in every sport and every business, but the amount of tributes that came out after Wyndham passed, it was just a testament to what everybody thought about him, and again, it also ties into creative allowing it to happen because sometimes they block that stuff. They might want to keep the mood of the show at a certain pace, so it's certainly not on the talent. If they didn't do one, it doesn't mean they don't care. Just maybe they were instructed not to, and there was some sort of direction there, as you know. But it really was cool to see.
Yeah, and it was universal. It was all the way across the board, and there was no it didn't seem as if there were any parameters put on what people wanted to do. There was no fear of anything because he was that guy, that's one of one, in my opinion. I don't know that, you're going to come across too many people in this industry where there's literally no enemies. None.
Yeah, none.
Yeah. That's crazy. Crazy. Well, yeah, shit. I'm sorry for taking us here, but like I said, I wanted to give you just a chance to speak candidly about the man, because I know.
No, I'm glad you
what
did,
he
man.
meant. I know what he meant to you.
I
know what he meant to you, and I've heard so many people's things, but it's got to go away at some point, right? I mean, we can't mourn forever, but I think it's a testament to him, and it's like, the initial starts to settle down, but for this industry where it's that constant news cycle and whatever, you know what? I mean, let's keep the man's spirit in there. It's been a tough year, man. It's been a tough year. Terry Funk, Wyndham, Jay Briscoe. Yeah.